welcome back to HGC North America, where we are in the middle of the action here between LFM and Team Freedom. I am Dreadnought. With me, as always, got to be the J-How there. Man, it's a tough time here for LFM. Down 2 games to Team Freedom, 3 level leads, almost, debatably 4. It's weird caster math when it comes to that. We all kind of have our own ideas on, is it the number, is it the exact experience? In general, though, it was solid play here from Freedom.
I think you can expect that, and I think, as you had said before we went to break, is you needed that from Team Freedom, and that's the biggest takeaway from that, is that if you're going to remain amongst the elite, you started out 4-0, you dropped a few series, you kind of hit the middle of the road, you didn't have a great performance at the Clash when everybody, Dread, when we were there, all the other teams were like, dude, Team Freedom is the real deal. All the European teams were like, this is the real deal. This is the #1 team. They dropped out 0-4. So coming back from that, they had a lot to kind of regain in terms of their stature, and obviously they're 1-1 so far, but getting through the bottom end, I guess, is the way to say, look, we're still here, compete with the rest when it comes time.
We started this series with talking about some of the battleground priority and how they overlap between the two teams, like Infernal Shrines and Sky Temple. We got, at least attention towards that of Infernal Shrines. As you see, that was banned out by LFM, but no selection yet onto Sky Temple. LFM is taking us to Volskaya Foundry.
It surprises me a bit.
It surprises me a lot. I straight up, in my notes, I was just like, okay, so I can say 100% the first 2 maps here are going to be Infernal and Sky between these 2 teams, right? Both of their maps overlap. Both of them enjoy the 2 battlegrounds. Now, LFM, I feel like this shows their fear, kind of the circumstance, that mix-up we were hoping for. It's hopefully going to happen here with Volskaya Foundry.
If they're going to change it up, I wonder if they'll have that high prioritization onto a Tyrael. Obviously, they're in the 2nd pick slot, so it's a little bit easier to 2nd pick Tyrael as opposed to 1st pick Tyrael. Tyrael has the 2nd lowest win rate of all 1st pick heroes. The lowest, Genji, sitting at 31.6. Tyrael sitting at 31.8. So those 2 heroes, when they're in the 1st pick rotation, have not had the most success when we look at the global impact. So we'll see if LFM can maybe get Tyrael in that 2nd rotation where his success is over 50% in that rotation.
I will say one area of the draft that absolutely is kind of detrimental here towards LFM, looking towards, not only this week, but maybe the remainder of this entire phase, has got to be the Medivh. It's been 100% ban rate, not even depending on the slot. It's just straight up, we don't play Medivh at this point in time. Wait a minute. Are they going to risk it here?
Stukov's been a menace.
Okay, so let me say this. Letting Medivh through in this situation, I don't feel like it is the mix-up that maybe they necessarily need. Team Freedom very comfortably probably can run this solidly. The impact that Medivh would have feels a little bit too, high up there, but maybe with the Malfurion, that's enough for them to want to rid of all the main priority supports. It's a mix-up. So I think I can't blame it, but I just feel like it seems like it's a bold move.
You've got to mix the Garrosh in here. If you want to get displacement, I feel the Garrosh has to be here. If you really want to make sure that they're going to struggle, maybe an early Junkrat. But the Medivh, there was 0 hesitation on that pick.
It literally didn't even make it to 59
I actually
seconds.
already wrote down Medivh. I'm going to have to go ahead and cross that out.
As the ban, that's how predictable it typically is here from LFM. The mix-up, it's here. But it has to, come with more than just a, hey, we shifted up the bans. Where else is that going to come in priority? I would expect this is where the Garrosh you were talking about, the threat in which that provides, maybe a Junkrat. I don't know if it needs to come up this high in the draft, but, it can be expected to be looked at as a ban on the side of Team Freedom, if not. But a support. If they consider any one of the supports a tier above that of the Stukov Malfurion, now is the time and the place, ladies and gentlemen.
I think they might potentially go back down that Ariel route. Just pick it up near the end. It's not that big of a deal. They get the Garrosh, and they double up to make sure that you deal with those portals. And Garrosh obviously has the toss. He can toss you away. Junkrat can put down the concussion mine to make sure and knock you away if you come through the portal. So, we hypothesized on one or the other and where the priority lies. They highly prioritize both of them.
Now that does give over. If Freedom, on the other hand, feels like any of the supports outweigh the rest, though, they can have the option to move in that before the 2nd ban phase. If they don't, though, you can kind of volunteer it through, wait it out. I don't know if I feel like If there is one, it's got to be Uther, and it would be before this ban phase, but it doesn't seem like North America has at least shown any kind of thought process that falls anywhere near my own.
I wonder if we'll just get a Lucio.
But if we do, I feel like that's got to be after the second ban phase. Like, you never want to commit that.
Yes.
If anything is picked before that second ban phase, it would only be the Uther. Otherwise, you wait it out. Hanzo Stitches for Team Freedom. He really wants to play today.
Somebody's disappearing through a portal later. Let me show you a magic trick.
Yeah. Here you are, and here you aren't. It's a pretty quick, what we're talking about for anybody who hasn't gotten to experience the Gorge portal play. The milk carton strategy, I think, is what it's been deemed.
Oh man, I don't want to go down this route, but I think I'm going to go down this route when I talk about this. For LFM, Junkrat's going to be there. The last thing that you need to go into Medivh is burst damage, because he gets healing off of that. Post level 7, everybody gets shielding and all that stuff later down the road, and it just makes it so hard. You can see a priority on supports there. I was going to say, if they want to go down a different route, you can see the Lucios there. Heavily debating. If I'm them and I see Collusion on the other side and it's full sky, I'm taking Lucio away all day.
I mean, I feel the same, but that's only because I would say having the Uther for myself is going to be a bigger power play. Especially considering the combo we were just talking about before. You need a burst support to be able to keep somebody alive through that if you have any chance. The only other hero who can keep somebody alive through it, but maybe can disable everything of the like enough, is in fact banned, and that's Stukov.
What if we just get another support here and everybody's just like, look, 4 supports are banned. We still have Medivh, so we'll just go Lili. Bam. Are we actually going to see a Lili again?
Not the game I would throw it out,
know,
but maybe.
After last week, I don't know anymore.
No, at this point, we don't know. Yeah. Man, and now I'm wondering if even Uther is going to be the focus versus the Rhaegar and just go with the burst healing. Just because we've seen, okay, so we've only seen one team, and it was only Tempo, with ever a commitment of the Uther over the Lucio or the Rhaegar. With Garrosh, okay, so if you pick another squishy, I feel like you have to argue into the Uther, but maybe there's too much spread damage to be too afraid of out of the Hanzo.
The backline is set for Freedom, so you don't have the same type of Genji aggression, so I wonder if they might just try and match backline with backline, because Medivh will be Yoda, Hanzo will be Lutano. Just a matter of where does Freedom go with their second melee, because with this setup with Stitches, it's not like you're walking in to try and be aggressive.
And that's where I think the support argument comes in, is if they're squishy enough to need the Divine Shield versus the Ancestral Healing. Into a Stitches like an Arthas, I would go Ancestral. Zeratul, you go Uther. It's way too squishy. Way too squishy to risk that Rhaegar. Ancestral timing does pretty much give, either the option of a Lili or the Rhaegar.
We are actually having this conversation.
We are. This
on the regular now.
This is a actual conversation that we have at HGC now. Is they could Lili. Man,
I
that's a little awkward.
I would almost argue for Kharazim here.
Just because of how squishy and how burst oriented a majority of them are on the other side.
And we've seen phenomenal play. And there's a weird roundabout way that you could also go I think the air ally for the reveal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you can see stealth much easier now, but if you want to be able to reveal to be able to auto attack, Medivh also has a reveal, so you just make it really hard for Zeratul to have those invades.
I mean, Hanzo.
And Hanzo with the Sonic
Already
arrow. Oh
makes
yeah.
it so hard.
Oh yeah.
I really hope it's not Lili. That's all I know.
Almost on cue. On cue. Like, could that have been timed any better?
I mean, man. Lili's out, boys. Mixed with the Tyrael still here for Freedom. This draft is down the rabbit hole for LFM. We talked about the mix-up. We see the priority into supports, but we have seen, I mean, it is far off here with the adjustments. What is this? I'm going to assume is a backliner or an offlaner. I'm going to guess it's a backliner with the Zeratul side soak. And if it is Zeratul with that side soak, which you can get away with the composition on the side of Freedom, what squishy do you put with this? Jaina? I mean, you ideally want something with Wombo, but it has to deal with the Tyrael and the Sanctification threat. Ring, typically too predictable.
There's
Kel'Thas? I mean,
there's
I'm
not
going
a lot
wild.
of synergy here.
I mean, there's very few things.
Unless you just go super safe with Greymane.
Hit me with that Kel'Thas. Just get it wild. Or you go with an off lane. What is it here, LFM? Off lane.
My blades are yours.
That really doesn't change my opinion in any direction, really, for that matter. Still feels a bit out of place.
It feels more out of place than the Lily.
It does, actually, which is surprising to say. Man, I've watched a lot of competitive Heroes of the Storm, but this is the first time I can say that Sonya is a weirder pick than Lily, in fact, was.
I also think, so we've seen the fast feet talent at level 1. I believe this is the patch. Man, you talk about diving deep into like, oh, we don't really dive deep into Artanis too much. And then Lily did have a minor change on her level 1 with the Serpent build, to where when you put the Serpent on somebody, it casts a Blinding Wind.
Or, oh yeah, it casts a Blinding Wind.
And it is a talented Blinding Wind. So if you spec into that later down the road, I don't know if you would against this composition, but I wonder if we might see a change up. Again, I need to double check. Probably shouldn't have even talked about it. Just wait till we went to game and then looked it up, you know. But
either way, he's
way.
exposed it. He's laid out. He's trying to display he's honest with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. That is Jay Howe, the honest man.
Jay Honest.
Yeah, Jay Honest. I don't know. We've got game 3 here with LFM up against Freedom. Again, at match point between these two teams. A bit of a... I'm just going to leave this as an opportunity to be surprised with the composition that we see out of LFM.
Collusion's thinking about his level 1 talent.
With the Lily. We're also seeing Uther and Sonya, but I doubt we're going to see any kind of deviance from what we typically get from either one of them. We do land on, Eager Adventurer for Lily.
I don't know if you remember last Sunday, but Lily took us on some adventures with Simplicity.
Yeah, she did, man.
Quite a few, actually. Good displacement. We see Nasmus on the Tyrael again, so after seeing Zugrug play 10 games of Tyrael throughout this season, Dread, it looks like they're changing things up a bit here. And maybe it's just a matter of because that second tank that they're picking, but Nasmus obviously showing his flexibility. Wow. And the body blocks.
Oh, my. Oh, Zugrug! And the Lily heal comes in.
Oh,
that was so pretty by LFM. That was one of those, oh yeah, but the Medivh, Force of Will comes in, and then you go, wait a minute. That synergy on that body block, so great.
Man, that's got to feel bad.
Nasmus
So close.
has no Eldruin, not going to land the, I don't know why I ever second guess. when Medivh is in the game, they're in fact safe until proven otherwise, not the other way around here.
I mean, I think you're right, though. I mean, we do have changes to the Medivh portal. We don't have the same type of talents at 1 and 13. You used to have the quickening and then the portal duration. Quickening used to be at level 1. Obviously, you got to be a little bit more timely. And Collusion under assault here. This might be the first blood.
It's enough to get the first blood there for LFM. When Drady coming down, joining the squad. Great initiation coming out from them. Good timing on the blind, too, to try and keep the Lily alive. It was right after, what you typically would expect for the opener of there between Zeratul and Sonya. But Sonya is one of the, she was, when auto attack damage was the main source of damage for a majority of the backliners in the meta long ago, she was one of the few great ones just because she does do auto attack damage, yes, but a lot of what she makes happen comes still through that spell. And she's one of the better kind of proportion of like, hey, I have auto attack damage, but it wasn't all of it. Granted, with the new Sonya, some of the new changes is probably catering heavier towards the spell side than we see out of the auto attack side. But it's something to keep in mind when looking at, what kind of relevance does Lily have when it comes to saving and defending beyond just, having a new and improved version of Cleanse compared to most supports, which is I would say the biggest reason for some of the acceptance and relevance of her.
I'm really trying to figure out. Okay, so it started with, we have Zeratul. We've seen a lot of VP, especially since a lot of the changes. We used to see Might of the Nerazim when more into the auto attack build was relevant. Now we see a lot of cleave build, and so it's just kind of going back to VP a little bit in terms of the few games that we've had on Zeratul. But then I'm thinking, like, what could you combo with that? And obviously you've got the Garrosh taunt and everything. Lily Jugs need to be interrupted. Is there any chance we might be going full leap here for Sonya to try and get on that Lily?
Once we saw the Sonya, that was in my head the only way you could justify the pick, that you void leap combo. That being said, it's not like that's going to help anything. Sonya's leap, hold up here, Sonya gets pulled back in. Sonya's leap after a void is great initiation if there's another damage source for a one-shot. Riptire's not that damage source, and it's the only one available on the squad. So I would say no, just because you have to essentially use the Void to deal with the Sanctification if you go into Leap at all. You have to get Sanced, then you go for a Leap, then you go for the kill. If you use the Void and the Leap together, you're just going to get a Sanced after, and then you look real silly, because then it's the 2-for-1 heroic trade-off versus the 1-versus-1. But the synergy and kind of demand that responds out of the Zeratul to enforce that, to get that Sanctification and Isolation, makes it to where it seems like go with Wrath, play the safer route, but it does feel like, yeah, with how kind of out of place that Sonya was, and us asking, is this a backliner, is it going to be a side laner? Maybe we'll get that from them. If we do end up seeing that, I would have seen, I'm guessing the Shot of Fear is 7, and more commitment towards that. But without that, going standard build here, I'm going to assume Wrath.
Got to get that Poison Spear damage, amp it up there at level 10.
Also, one thing to consider with kind of Lily and Jugs is Void Prison doesn't even cancel it; it just stalls it. It just pauses it. So it's one of those moments where if you don't end up getting the kill onto the kill target, Jugs actually does a great job of single target healing onto one person. If it's all focusing on only to one person, it's pretty fast and pretty effective. And genuinely, or normally, when you look at that out of the Void, she's just going to be able to, okay, this target's low, all of the cups go onto one target, and it's a pretty safe save, especially with Cleanse picked up at 7.
We've seen the back and forth on the control point here. LFM controlled it for quite a while, getting up to 92%, but Team Freedom has reclaimed that control as we see LFM drop back, grab their turret. Junkrat cleared the camp up at the top. Look for LFM to reapproach this control point, see if they might be able to get that combo. As you see, the turret was put down, still holding on to a second one there for Figgy. The Swabs goes in, puts a bit of damage onto Lutano.
Yeah, it's going to be important, though, that he does that with people near him in the future, because they can't just get those trades. They need to get kills with those trades. Figgy taking a lot of damage, but Deep Portal is going to allow Zugrug to get out, but it's enough for Freedom to claim a kill for their own. Now 1-to-1, 97% on the control point. Picked up completely now here for Team Freedom. See what they can make happen here with this first Protector.
The Dread, I believe we were talking about Hanzo builds this morning.
Yeah.
And I think this is the one you kind of lean towards a little bit with Hanzo.
I would say just in general, because Scattering Arrow is an amazing ability, but it's territorial dependent, right? Like on how many situations can you actually get initiative or value out of it. And this one not only provides more kill potential and kind of generic value to every situation and every map, but it also provides wave clear in any circumstance too. You don't need a wall near you whatsoever to be able to get that. Thanks to the 4, just throw out the Storm Bow, hit the minions, get the explosion, even a bit of control on things like you were talking about Infernal Shrines. We've seen this kind of come to popularity. It's definitely into a Garrosh for the armor shred at level 1, but I personally just feel like this build in general is more often than not going to gain value. Nice attempt on the cleanse there from Aware, a half second too late.
I wonder if it might have still been there enough for the Gorge. I mean, it was close. It was close. As you said, it was a little bit late in terms of dodging the hook, but I wonder if it was there enough for him to get that one step away. Also, we see Junkrat. I believe that is the extra movement speed when you are depleted of grenades, so also gives you that a quick little step to get out of danger.
It's one of my favorite talents on him, but it becomes kind of counterintuitive with the 16, because if you get the 16 and then you get the CDR on your grenades, and then you have 3 hit, you have near 100% uptime on your nades because constantly cycling between your auto attacks, so it hits a point where you go, wait a minute, you know, I'm not really getting too much out of this other than, you know, getting the replenish. Nice Void hold up here after that isolation. Nasmus on an island goes ahead and uses the Tyrael Saints. Portal again, Dragon Arrow comes in, flip away. Zugrug now man on the point, Draded tossing him back. Swabs versus the 1-versus-1 against Nasmus. Ends up getting the kite out. A lot of damage here. Oh, wow, Draded still going.
Draded gets out of there. Again, he is on the Garrosh this game, so this seems to be a thing that when the Garrosh player is traded, but that was a big-time play. He got the toss into multiple members of Freedom, followed up by the Groundbreaker, then hit the taunt. If they had any type of different follow-up, that could have been detrimental to the health bars of Team Freedom.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where, you know, Draded, it wasn't so much the play of Draded as much as Draded's clearly going, boys, I got the play. The rest of LFM's kind of going, are we sure we can do this? And for sure, I thought it'd be enough to be able to get him caught out there, but no, able to keep himself alive for now.
Those concussion mines by T, especially on that point, have really done a number on Team Freedom's control. I think it's kind of the biggest point. You know, we saw the poly bomb just a half second too late, but timely blink out on the initial part of that because there was the Gorge portal over the wall there, but unfortunately it was on Zeratul. He's got a little bit of mobility.
With the 13 talent here closing in for Freedom, it's up to LFM to force a fight before that point if they have any intent to. Figgy is going to get dismounted there. For anybody at home wanting to stitch his notes, why does Zugrug open with slam over hook opportunity there? Just get the dismount, number one, increases the chances of making sure you get that hook. Number two, I mean, just being able to, I mean, mainly just not burn that hook cooldown while they're mounted up, I guess is essentially the same point, but really what I'm trying to say here is don't throw your hook out for no reason. Open up with that W, get the slow opportunities too if you get to the later stages of the game. We aren't there yet.
Yeah, post 16, obviously that slow is pretty significant.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It used to be a stun, so I mean.
Well, we saw the taunt used there by Garrosh. Unfortunately, Yoda had already kind of just eked through that portal, so a little bit of a missed opportunity there for LFM, but heads up play by Yoda to dodge that. Short enough cooldown that should be up for this next team fight. Level 13 almost here by LFM, picked up by Team Freedom already. This control point will be up at the top, and you know that earlier work that Freedom was able to accomplish took down that well on the side of LFM, which is normally one of the things you want to do with that first protector, and they were able to accomplish a lot of that. So that gives them a little bit more control over this top area without that well for LFM to drop back and tap to.
Now that the 13's here for Junkrat, I thought we might see maybe T split pushing, but instead going to join up towards this fight. There goes a Hook Gorge combo. On the wrong side of this wall is going to be Figgy, trying to break it out of Swaz, but it's not enough in time. Polybomb ends up getting value. Dragon Arrow not going to land. Portal is there. Zugrug comes through. There's the toss. Where comes the hook? There it connects. Indomitable use. 10:36. Another hook's available for Zugrug. We'll see if he ends up landing that one.
It looks like LFM's going to concede, and with this Team Freedom, they're going to follow a little bit. They're going to get the well, or excuse me, the Bionic Emitter, aka Helium Pulse here. You know, they had an opportunity, I think, to maybe push in just a little bit in that top lane, go ahead and open it up, but instead they're making a little bit of a safe play here. As we saw, LFM did rotate back up with 4 members. Obviously, it's definitely still strong. Draded not going double up at 13, instead getting the shield when he does land his Groundbreaker. Swab's eating so much damage, and the turret almost gets the takedown.
Yeah, great job there. Riptire's going to come in. LFM keeping Draded alive. Divine Shield, Sanctification, everybody invulnerable, trying to keep themselves alive, but the Polybomb splitting out Swabs on that Sonya. There comes out the Void from Swabs, but it might be too little too late. Nice force of will onto Zugrug. Ends up keeping the team alive. 1 for 1 here. LFM keep themselves alive in that skirmish. That was very, very close.
They needed that. I mean, just any semblance of regaining control in this game, or at least some attempt to gain any control at all. You know, that trade there gives them a little bit of experience, gives them a little bit of opportunity. T, you can't spell Arthalon without TEA.
You are correct. You, in fact, you know, thank you for that spelling lesson here, Jay-How.
You're welcome.
I didn't know if we would be able to, you know, make it here through this, but now that I know that, I feel like I'm going to be a better Junkrat player.
Just put a bunch of concussion mines down. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that really is the name of the game there. Normally, I didn't think he would get the second one off because I thought the Medivh may be in position enough to make sure to get the set off there to where he doesn't get the solo value out of that 13. Not the case, though. Yoda unable to track it down. Yoda joining this Protector. Look at that damage. The cleanse comes out. Not the reason he's alive, and not the reason he's no longer alive here. Very good job. Protector gets a kill. Gorge onto Swabs. Nice bait there from Yoda. There goes the Vorpal in. Swab's actually getting a kill.
Just barely misses the hook there, but still a 2-for-1 trade in favor. Let's see, Swabs, he does go fully invisible. But if you walk into him.
Found him. Oh.
When you walk into them, you get.
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Not like this.
He's still looking.
Keep scouting, Nasmus.
No!
Oh!
No!
No! Swabs! You had one job!
He's got wormhole.
Come on, there we go.
No! What?
Swabs! Swabs! No! You had one job. It was so close, Swabs. If you just didn't give up, man.
I'm pretty sure that if you run into an invisible hero, you get the red reveal above your own head.
You know, I don't know about that necessarily, but I will say there was definitely moments there where you could argue he maybe should have been revealed. Either way, Swabs almost with a story as great as the Arthlon save of last week. Doesn't make it out, not as victorious here, but he did buy a lot of time. Like, I mean, let's be real here. There was no sieging done during that time, or less so, as two members trying to kite back and get the kill onto him.
I mean, I want to know, like, Nasmus's thought process, because clearly he couldn't find him, and then he goes, searches literally everywhere except for the one spot, and then he reveals himself at the end. Do you think he's like, why?
He's like, yeah, I thought he made it back already. Probably. Like, this is surprising.
At least I don't look silly now because we found him.
Freedom still in pretty solid control of this game, though. Beyond, you know, the epic chase there of the Zeratul trying to find that, and kind of the, you know, what I'm going to call a small blooper reel. They're still in full control. They're going to be rounding the 20 pretty, you know, fast compared to that of LFM with that full level and a half lead. You know, I'll be honest, my time frame is a little bit off after that escapade we have with Swabs, but I do think it's going to be likely as that next map objective spawns when we get control point C. That's going to be, I mean, with the bottom port already down, likely a keep coming out from them, maybe even core if they can get themselves a couple of kills. LFM, what are they going to do to try and force the hand of Freedom? Right now, seems like pressure bottom.
Draded's still anchoring. Let's see if he makes his way down. Nobody's pathing near him just yet, but LFM has actually done a good job to get some of those turrets down. Gives him a decent chunk of experience, but speaking of chunk, the slam goes out, the portal as well as the gorge. Zugrug, he's got himself the Swabs, and he's got himself one dead Zeratul.
Yeah, Zeratul going down. Draded, flipping out Nasmus. Eldruin follow-up number 2. Portal's there. Riptire even killed before, but big taunt immediately after the attempted punish from LFM. Figgy now seems to be the focus. Another groundbreaker here from Draded. Eldruin's follow-up, even throw down Jugs out of Team Freedom. Gets interrupted. Another interrupt. Just how long can Draded hold off here? Figgy goes back with an Ancient Spear.
Draded wanted to go back in for the heal, and Lutano's like, no, I'm going to go the other way. And then he gets the takedown there. But, you know, the taunt and the concussion mine kind of threw me off there, Dread, because Sonya went in. I thought that was an opportunity that we might see Figgy get some damage and maybe get a kill there, but the concussion mine just kind of separated everybody.
Yeah, just kind of all over the place and unable to recover or find those kills. One of those moments, too, where a Medivh generally, you know, whenever you force a team to scatter into a Medivh, it's good because it might force a bad portal. But, you know, and you aren't getting that portal to advance left or right, but it does make it to where, you know, he's one of those heroes who does great with kind of split up skirmishes because Force of Will and Portal are so impactful. Here's that 20 we were talking about over the bottom lane, and now it's unlikely that we're going to see LFM. It really is honestly near impossible for them to get the 20, at least until the keep front wall is being attended. Probably the keep 2, it's unlikely to get in that time frame. Defending on the core, possibly so. They just can't stagger the deaths in the defense of this Protector.
Even if the Protector goes down post-keep, Freedom is holding on to 3 turrets and the Biotic Emitter.
Oh yeah.
And so you can put you can put your turrets down, and they'll, because the structures prioritize items and minions and mercs before heroes. So if you put down the turret, you can soak up keep shots. You can soak up some of the core damage, but as healthy as this Protector is, I don't even know if it's going to be needed.
Stitch's hook. Wow, Zeratul getting one shot there, not even going to connect. No void now for 50. Figgy able to get the Ancient Spear out. Draded trying to get the escape here from Team Freedom. No hook up yet for Zugrug, as it was, again, kind of missed over that first one. Protector now, as the keep is going to fall, moves on towards the core here. LFM with the last stand against Team Freedom on Volskaya Foundry. Can they make it happen? Shielding on the core, already going to be removed. Taunt lands onto Medivh, but he's going to take the portal out the other way. Shielding 60, 50, and with everybody on Team Freedom standing, it looks like this is going to be their series to take. 3-0.
Team Freedom comes out looking strong against LFM, and LFM, man, is it too soon to just be like, I don't understand their drafts the entire series? If you're preparing for Freedom, you can say that one of the best things to do is to just try and fight them. It reminds me a little bit of maybe Ballistics before in MVP Black, now KSV Black. We're like, what if we just fought you, right? Like, you can't macro if I'm in your face. And that was kind of one of the things, obviously a very different comparison. But I feel like teams that are very heavily macro focused that have struggled in team fights, you might want to draft something a bit more aggressive. We saw Zeratul Sonya, which in your mind sounds that it's aggressive, but in terms of like how it plays, the synergy, especially with the Junkrat, it doesn't feel aggressive.
Yeah, like that's why especially with that, once we see the Zeratul picked up, I was saying I'm more likely to see a backliner in that type of situation. Not only because the laning situation, you'd be likely to get away with it, but side laners and how they synergize with Zeratul is, the answer is most of the time they just don't. You know, when you have that Zeratul, you want those kind of Li Mings, those Genjis, other high mobility, high all-in reset compositions, and you just go, can we get this one reset? The answer is no. Void, maybe we can find it during this time, and then really kind of open up those fights. Unable to find it there for LFM, but Team Freedom, you know, they're still, I feel like they weren't challenged that much. Honestly, I was hoping to see a couple answers, with, like, especially with the, you know, if we see LFM draft to team fight, bring the team fight to Team Freedom, would we see Team Freedom maybe kind of suffer? But it was very much Freedom got a lot of what they wanted, didn't mix anything up that much, and really just kind of went the, hey, we're going to play our slow, steady, you know, well thought out game. It's one of those moments where I have a hard time being like, you know, I wanted to see that much more from Freedom because they were so dominant, but at the same time, it goes like, again, how hard you win and how dominant you win is something I'm always looking for, and especially the confidence they should have up against Freedom. I don't know. I'm still kind of back and forth on my evaluation if I got what I wanted or not.
I think you took the words right out of my mouth. It just, I'm not sure where I stand yet either. I mean, if you're looking at it on paper, you expect Team Freedom to come in and get the victory over LFM. They did just that. So, I mean, they didn't have to show a lot. They did exactly what they needed. They got the Medivh in the last game, just, you know, fine-tuning things. Obviously, you know, letting Medivh through, scary thing here in North America. But, you know, Team Freedom did what they needed to do, did what they expected to do. And it doesn't matter how you win, I guess, if you get a 3-0. But obviously, you know, we always want more from some of our top teams. But Team Freedom, it's hard to argue. Like, oh, you know, we want more, but how much more do you want, guys? Like, we just 3-0'd and we did it pretty easy.
You know what? We can just ask them ourselves.
Hey.
Lucky enough, we got Team Freedom on the line, so we're just gonna, you know what? From our end, we're sitting here kind of mixed, you know, wishy-washy on feeling the confidence level and the dominance that we want to see from you guys. How are you guys feeling after that victory over LFM?
I mean, we can't really ask for much more than a 3-0. Like, especially that Spider Queen game, we were like really dominant in it. So I think it like really boosts our confidence after losing a series last week.
So, you know, coming into this, I guess, did you have this kind of expectation with the results against them, Zugrug? Like, or were you maybe feeling, I guess, did you have different interpretation or expectations from LFM? Because I guess I felt like they would be at least packing a punch in game number one a little bit harder than they had. What is it from your guys' view?
LFM last week looked pretty good. Like, they've improved a lot since the start of the season, I think. But I think we're just a much better team. So we were expecting a 3-0.
Just, you know, confidence, and that's it. Short and sweet. Just we are the better
Yeah.
team, and we acted on it.
Yeah,
I
pretty
think
much.
Understandably so. You know, with the kind of repertoire and expertise you guys are in, I'm going to send you over to Jay Howe here.
Zugrug, one of the things that I look at with your team, and it's something that I was able to talk to Lutano about, and what you guys mentioned last week as well, dealing with aggressive teams and aggressive compositions. And for me, it seemed like you guys maybe needed a double warrior front line to deal with some of that because you have such a strong back line. Today, we saw Tyrael being played by Nasmus as you shifted over. Is that just a situational thing this weekend? Is that something a little bit different? Because you've been the primary Tyrael player for this team.
I think usually when we draft Tyrael, I'm on it, but we do run comps where Nasmus plays a Tyrael. I'd say it's about like 70-30% who plays a Tyrael, but usually it's me on it.
And then is that just that's normal for you? Because I don't actually have any Tyrael games logged. I mean, obviously, historically, you guys go back the front line of you guys. Do you feel that there needed to be a change at all? And do you feel that you were tested at all in this series against LFM?
I think that our drafts this series are like really, really strong. Like Arthas is a hero we don't play a lot, but it was really good against them on BOE. So that's what shifted like Nasmus onto Tyrael, just because we drafted another warrior that we don't really draft that often.
Fair enough. Well, you guys definitely performed admirably and took it home easy 3-0. Congratulations.
Thanks.
You know, you brought up the Arthas and some of the, I guess, less common warrior pickup here. One that's been showing up a little bit in Europe, and I got to ask, you know, from your point of view, is the Stitches. Is that going to be one that we see popping up ready to play more in North America, or is that just going to be the Team Freedom Classic? Or, in fact, it was kind of more of a one-off situation here?
Well, right now, I don't think Stitches is that good against a lot of the meta heroes or like the meta tanks. Like Garrosh and Diablo are both really good against Stitches, so there's not a lot of situations where we want to pick him, but if there's like a meta shift, like more focus around tanks, I think, then we'll see more Stitches for sure.
Hopefully we end up getting more Stitches over from you guys. And before, you know, we actually want to take a look towards the games that you have up next weekend up against Heroes Hearth Esports. I mean, feeling like from the dominance that you guys showed today and the confidence that you got, you're probably feeling equally as confident towards Heroes Hearth. But, you know, with their performance, are you feeling any different?
I'm confident going into the series, but I think it'll be close, like a 3-2 or 3-1 for us.
All right. Well, thank you very much here, Zugrug. And, you know, the floor is yours for any shout-outs, any thanks, anything like that you want to give out.
Shout out to all of our fans. Shout out to our sponsors, Team Freedom and HyperX. And shout out to Twitch chat. And shout out to Jeeves for all the tips he's been giving me.
Thank you very much, Zugrug. And congratulations once again on the win. Man, you know, shout out to the fact that every one of our pro players, or whenever one of our pro players shout out Twitch chat, I just, you know, on the inside, I just smile a little bit. You know, just shout out to Twitch. Why don't we shout out Twitch chat?
Shout out to Twitch chat for being part of it. Did I do it?
I mean, I guess so. You know, we don't keep the memes flowing as well as maybe some of our pro players here, but that is going to be the end of our very first series of the day for HGC North America. But we've got another one up for you guys. Stay tuned. It is Gale Force up against No Tomorrow.